think we can all agree that one of the things we all have to go through, but we fear the most in life, is going through grief. But grief, unfortunately, is part of life. And in today's review, we're going to talk about The Poppy Fields by Nikki Erlick and how in this book there's a possible scientific solution to erase grief without going through the pain and the work that it requires for you to move forward without moving on from somebody you lost. Now, this is a story of 3 different characters that are flying to this place in California. They do not know each other. They just happen to board the same plane. And there's this storm that happens where all the flights get canceled. Somehow they end up meeting and embarking in this cross-country road trip where they realize that they're not only all going to California, but they're actually going to the exact same place. So in the beginning, this road trip is with our 3 main characters, Sasha, Ava, and Ray. Ray is a firefighter, Sasha is a physical therapist, Ava is an illustrator. We don't know from the beginning how they are connected to this poppy field, if they're going to try to get help from their grief, or if there's something more that they're hoping to achieve once they get there. And as you read through the first part of this book, then you'll realize really what their agendas or different agendas are. Now, as we are following their story, we're also following Ellis, who is the creator behind the poppy fields. And the poppy fields are not really related to the flower itself. It's more because when people choose to go to this medical place, they are going to be put to sleep, and there's going to be different things that will be going through their body. I'm not sure, some kind of medicine that will help them not only stay asleep, but get over their grief, to feel better. The hope is when they wake up, they will be feeling better. The poppy fields reference, it's more because of the color of the pajamas that they're wearing and the row of beds of these sleepers. So in this book, even though this is a medical treatment, it's something that is very new and it's not going to be done without some kind of controversy. And what I think that Nikki Erlick does really well is expose you to what would happen in society if something like this was to happen. So what would people say and think, and how would that affect not only the kind of person that you'll become after you're done, but also socially, for religion, for everything. How is it going to change, or how is this going to affect all those things in normal life? So that is a really big part of this book, but it's kind of intertwined between these stories of the characters and what really is happening with Ellis at the poppy field. Is it really ethic to delete grief from yourself? Should that be legal? And what are the consequences of doing that? If you ever had to go through a grief, if you haven't, you are lucky, but eventually in life, it's something we cannot stop. But if you ever gone through, you know how hard it is, how heartbreaking it is. It feels like not only devastating, but also like it will never end. It makes you feel like that's your new normal. This is the new life that you got. In this case, all the people that decided to go to the poppy fields were really devastated, and they were thinking about that this was the end. So it was their last effort to try to get back to normal life in a way where they were not hurting anymore. But that's where the controversy starts, because what happens is that some of them would wake up with some kind of a side effect. And the side effect is something that you have to be okay living with for the rest of your life. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what the side effect is, but is that the price that you're willing to pay in order to feel better yourself, or in order to make this grief process shorter for you? Now, and it makes you think, personally, it made me think about this because recently I lost a friend, and recently I lost a pet that was with me for 16 years, and it happened at the same time. So I felt like the grief was overwhelming me to the point where, your brain kind of starts to make you think that this is it. I mean, I don't think you can get out of this place, or you're gonna be stuck in this amount of sadness and despair and hopelessness for a really long time. But I also knew that that wasn't the truth. I was gonna be able to process everything, understand what happened, mourn the loss, and then keep going in life without moving on from somebody that I truly loved. So it makes you really consider the possibility of, if there were some kind, or if there was some kind of option for you to skip ahead in life and kind of move on from these things, would we be the same person when we're done? Like, if you go through this poppy field process, would you be the same person that you were in the beginning? And would you still learn something from that process? Now, as I said, grief is one of those things that nobody's looking forward to. We're all trying to avoid it like the plague. And in this book, it makes you kind of think about personally, at least it did to me, on how important it is, and this is in my personal life. I've always, after some time, I've learned that if I don't feel the feelings, then I can't move forward. It's not moving on, but how do you move forward from something that did impact you, that did change you, but is it okay to not feel the feelings and try to find a solution outside the pain that you have to go through? So to me, this was an amazing book. It was a 5-star book. I listened to the audiobook through Libro FM with an ALC, so thank you to Libro FM. I also read the book itself because it's two different experiences, I feel like. And if I have to say something that I really loved about this book, or a character that I really was able to feel like it added a lot to the story without being the main character, was a girl that eventually shows up throughout this book. And she is, I think, 18 years old, and she's really young in her mind, and she's very careless, and she is doing things outside the norm, and she experiencing all these things she wants to do before she dies, even though there's nothing oppressing her, there's nothing that she has to do before a certain time, because she's not sick or anything. But it was kind of refreshing to see how our characters that were on this road trip, they all had all this, without even saying it, incredible amount of fear of living, really, and being in pain as you are living. And when this character was introduced to the book, I have to say that it was refreshing, and it almost was inspiring to the characters to try to take life differently, or see life differently, and almost with younger eyes, and experience more, and put aside more of this fear, or unbased fear, or base fear based on something, on some kind of experience, but put it aside and try something that might give you joy in life, and not continue to avoid the things that makes us anxious, or that scare us, just because you feel like you're in a comfortable place, because by the end of the book you realize that staying in that place, it's really making it worse as far as of the grief process and stuff. And that is what I took out of this book. Now, of course, when you read this book, you're going to get something that will speak to you, the personality that you have, the kind of person that you are, and the stage in life that you are. Maybe if you're super young, maybe you don't think about these things. Maybe if you never lost anybody, you don't think about what it must be to go through these losses and stuff. But it still will give you this really entertaining story where you have no idea where it's going. So I definitely enjoyed this book. As I said, 5-star, totally recommended. And if you've read it, I would love to know your opinion of the book in the comments down below. As I always say, we don't have to agree. We can always agree to disagree. So if you think that it wasn't the right book for you, if you're DNF'd, still share it in the comments down below. I think it's really interesting to kind of compare how this book spoke to different people. So thanks again for being there, guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.